So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday night. And I know the Blue Jays start very soon. So for those that are baseball fans, hopefully we won't take up too long, or you can have it on in the background while we're going. But hopefully the Jays can win tonight and keep progressing. But I digress a little bit. But again, so tonight is our development and competitive player parent meeting. Development is consisted of our under 8s to under 13s now, which is called grassroots, and our competitive is under 14s all the way up to our adult divisions. So appreciate taking the time out of our day. Hopefully you were able to enjoy some of the nice weather this weekend. I know it's kind of turned into a bit of a crappy afternoon today, but hopefully you're able to get out yesterday and enjoy some of the sunshine. It was nice. Keep the warm weather coming as we are. So I wanted to start tonight with a little video. So the next screen is going to be a video. Hopefully it works for you. But yes, let's go. Let's see if I can get this to play. Here we go. Okay. So I just wanted to share that tonight. Shared this at the coach and manager meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago now. I just felt it was important to kind of start with the fact that every team is a team. And it's important that everything we do together can help grow our program together. If you might be on, for example, the boys 2017 team, you might be on the girls 2014 team. Regardless of which team you're on, you're part of Newmarket Soccer Club. And I think it's important that everything that we do, we can achieve together. And this is our club values here of commit, believe, and achieve. I think it's really important that everything we do, we want to make sure we try and do it together and we improve together. We keep growing together. We're going to make mistakes along the way, but hopefully through those mistakes, we can learn and keep growing and keep growing and keep growing and keep making sure that the environment we provide for our players and our coaches, our referees, our managers, everything allows us to keep achieving things and keep us growing and keep becoming the best club that we can potentially be. So I thought it was really important to kind of just show that video around teamwork. And yes, that your son or daughter might be on a particular team, but I wanted to really nail down the point that Newmarket Soccer Club, you play for Newmarket Soccer Club. You don't play for just the boys 2013 or for whichever team you're on. You play for Newmarket Soccer Club, and we're all in this together, and we all want to achieve things together and hopefully make sure that we, as I mentioned, can continue to grow the club and keep moving forward and make strides like we have been doing in the last couple of years. So why are we here? So every season we have the privilege and responsibility to shape more than just soccer players. We shape people. And I think that's really, really important that we're not, yes, we're a soccer club, but we're here to shape people first and then soccer on the side. We want to grow and keep making sure that we provide good soccer players and we make good soccer players, but at the same time, we want to make sure we have good people that are growing into the community and move into the community. So it's important that we talked about that. And it's important to also understand that our impact lasts far beyond the field. Just what we do on the field is obviously going to then take them into off the field moments, how they are at home, how they are in the classroom, when they end up in work environments. Hopefully everything that we're trying to teach will help them in their life off the field as well. And then this meeting is really about trying to align ourselves and for me to give you some information around what our program is about so that we can support each other and ensure that we create the best environment we can so every player can grow, belong, and thrive. And we feel it's important. And then hopefully through this, you get a better understanding of our program. And again, I want us to work together in this. It's important that you guys as parents have voices as well. And we want your feedback. We take it on board. Sometimes we can implement it right away. Sometimes we can't, but it's there in the background, knowing that this is something that we want to try and do and people want, because ultimately, I'm a dad myself. We want what's best for your own kid, and obviously we want what's best for all your kids. And I think it's important that we do that. So hopefully through this meeting, you get some better understanding of what we're trying to do and what our program's about, and we can learn more about how we can help your child grow and belong and then thrive in the environment they're in. So tonight, just a quick agenda. We're going to go over what the club structure looks like, who's here, what our club objectives are, what our program looks like, some expectations. Talk about club fees and uniforms. We got some events to go over, give you some resources at the end, and then if you have any questions, we'll go over that. But I first wanted to kind of say thank you, to be honest. We've started us off as teamwork. It's really important that we thank you as parents for trusting us with your kid. It's not something that we take lightly at all. It's really important that we do everything we can for the number of kids we have. So within our competitive program, we have approximately just over 400 players. And that's through full-time and training players within the program from under 8 all the way up to under 17 now is our oldest age group currently. But it's something that we want to strive to make sure that we provide the best environment for your child as possible. And again, I want to just thank you for trusting us, and hopefully we will do everything we can to make sure it's a good environment and they enjoy it and they want to come back and they want to keep playing the sport. And whether they don't come back to Newmarket, but they go on to something bigger or they just stay in the game, I think it's really, really important that everything we do is to try and grow your child and make sure that they become the best version of themselves. And hopefully we're trying to do that as well and make sure that everything we do every day brings out the best in us and as staff and as coaches, so we can keep growing. But again, I just wanted to say a big thank you for trusting us with your kid. It's not something we take lightly. So just wanted to share what our board members are. So we have a full board currently. So Petra is on the call. Petra, did you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much, like Paul said, for taking the time to be here tonight. We really do appreciate it. As you've probably noticed, you guys are all muted. I will be manning the Q&A and the chat. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and pop them in there. We'll do our best to answer as we go along. And if there's something that needs to be addressed, we'll make sure that Paul addresses it if he doesn't cover it over the course of the presentation. But thank you, and hopefully you enjoy.
Thank you, Petra. And then just to, obviously, I'm not going to list off everybody here, but your director of competitive here is Sergey, and there's a number of other members on the board that have their child or children in competitive program as well, or they have a son or daughter also coaching within the program as well. So that's our list of directors. So thanks to everyone that what they do. They put a lot of time and effort in on the back end. So thank you for all you do to try and keep the club growing and moving forward as well. So from a staff perspective, I didn't actually introduce myself. So for those that don't know, I'm Paul Smith. I'm the technical director. So I oversee all the programs from house league into competitive, all the on-field information. So Kevin Small is our general manager. Kev is also on the call here. Kev, did you want to say hello?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. There's a lot of excellent information in here, and we hope that you get a really good insight into the program, and that you don't hesitate to reach out if there's any other questions, even after this meeting, that you need addressed. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you so much again.
Perfect. Thank you, Kev. So we also have James Sewell. So James, I'll introduce himself a little bit later on. James is also going to speak into the call as well. So James is our club head coach. He helps really help and develop our coaches and a lot of the younger players as well, all the players on the field as well, has a big impact on the players. So Puya is your competitive coordinator. So Puya is your point of contact directly as a parent. So if you have any concerns or questions, your questions should generally go, from a club standpoint anyway, should go into Puya first. And then if Puya can't help, he forwards it on to whoever is necessary. Obviously, if you need to speak to your coaches first around a team environment stuff, that's the way it works. But from a club standpoint, it will come into Puya, and then Puya looks to send it on to whoever's required. We got our Ingrid is our recreational coordinator. Jeff is our bookkeeper. Jeff's now been with us a couple of years and he's doing a fantastic job for us. We've recently hired Christina. So Christina is our communications event coordinator. So Christina takes care of our social media and sends all the club emails out. So that's whenever you're getting club emails from us, that comes out from Christina. We have Rick and Steve, who are our technical advisors and coach and player guides. Jacqueline Rocha is our administrative assistant. We have Ashley Marshall, who is our club referee, and Steve Dixon, who is our facility manager. I've neglected, and I'm very sorry to say this, I neglected to include our goalkeeper coach, Rob Stillo. So Rob is our goalkeeper coach, and also have Patrick Deleche, who's on the call as well. So Patrick's involved with our adapt and the small group training stuff. Patrick will also be speaking to that a little bit later on. And Patrick, apologize, meant to include you on this list, and I completely forgot. So sorry about that, buddy. So just wanted to share these with you. So it's our vision, mission, and values as a club. So our vision is to foster diverse, inclusive growth through soccer. Our mission is to provide a fun and positive experience that inspires passion and growth for everyone in our community. And as I've already talked about, our values here are commit, believe, achieve. And this was done a couple of years ago now. So we redid it a couple of years ago. And it's something that we've been working towards for a long time, and it was important that we kind of redid these and kind of focus, and we did a new strategic plan that we're in the process of working through, obviously. So I just wanted to share these values with you. It's important also to show you what the player pathway looks like. So depending where you enter, which age you're at and where you're at. So we have our rep pathway starts at under 8. We do have a Super Sevens program, but that's technically still not part of the grassroots yet. It's in there, but our grassroots officially starts at under 8 and runs now until under 13. This has actually been pushed up a year. I'll go into that a little bit later on in the presentation in terms of the changes, but Canada Soccer made some countrywide changes to the matrix and to the playing formats and what everything looks like. So grassroots technically now is up until under 13. We then have from under 14 to under 18 is what's classed as the competitive. So you play in the I model or the district league, and then I would explain a little bit about later on. And then obviously underneath our rep and competitive program, we have a house league recreational stream which starts at under 4, which I'm sure many of you have come through, and then runs all the way to under 18 and then into the adult leagues. And we also have adult competitive teams. So our big shout out to our women's team this year. So they actually won the league, which is a great accomplishment for them. And then our men's team also competed and finished 4th, I think, in the league that they're in. But it's great for our women. So we do have those avenues as we move out. And we also have an affiliation with Simcoe County Rovers in League One. We have that affiliation for another year. So there's some opportunities there for some of the older players, and even to go and witness and watch some League One information, some League One games, which is a very good experience to go and watch and understand kind of what the next level looks like, especially for your son or daughter if they're getting towards that age where they're looking towards university, or if they're kind of wanting to push towards pro, because Simcoe technically is a semi-professional outfit, and League One is a semi-professional league before they then go into the CPL, the NWSL, the NSL, sorry. So kind of wanted to share this as well. So our general overarching goal, along with those obviously club mission, vision, value statements there, is our goal is to create a club that fosters a love for the game. So ultimately, whenever a player is playing, you have to make sure you're having fun, and we want to make sure that they love the game first. If you don't love the game or you don't love something, you're probably not going to stick with it very long. So if we can foster an environment and a club that people want to love the game, hopefully they're going to stick with it, whether it's with Newmarket or not. But we want them to be able to love the game. But from that, we have player objectives, we have club objectives, and we have coach objectives, and these haven't changed for a couple of years. So if you've seen this presentation before, this slide will look very familiar to you. So from a player standpoint, we want them to be adaptable on and off the field, to be able to adapt to different situations. Obviously, sometimes they're going to be winning, sometimes they're going to be losing, how they adapt to those certain situations. Respect is a big thing. So we want to make sure that they're very, very respectful in terms of respecting the game, respecting their coaches, respecting the officials, respecting the opponents, respecting parents, respecting all the opponents, parents as well. So it's very impactful that we're very respectful in terms of how we play and represent Newmarket itself. And we want them to be confident. If you're not confident on the field, it's going to be tough to really express yourself and bring out the best. So hopefully, again, what we do allows them to be confident within themselves. From a club standpoint, we have a blue to red thread. And what I mean by that is it's building a stronger link and between the pathways of the club. So like I mentioned there on the player pathway, making sure that we have a link between house league and competitive, which is stronger, which I think we're now doing a good job at, where we have the training players, so it allows a little bit of a bridge. And we're also in the process of trying to make sure that we have stronger links with other clubs or into different levels of programming. So, for example, we're starting to look into like some further stuff down the line around some League Two information and how we can potentially complete a pathway around that. We're looking at what we can do for post-secondary information and how we can link some information in towards that. But it's important that we have these different threads, so we have opportunities for all the players to be able to continue to grow and thrive within what we're doing. And ultimately, we want to be the #1 regional club. For those that don't know, we're not an OPDL club, and that term may be familiar to some and may not be familiar at all. But OPDL is what there's classed as the elite league in Ontario. You have to be a certain level of club license to be able to get in there, and you have to apply for it and go in there. When the league first started over 10 years ago, the club decided not to go into it for reasons I think were valid at the time. And then we're still in a process where should we go in, should we not? We get asked that question all the time, and we're in between because there's a lot that comes with having been an OPDL club, and we feel that we're in kind of a good spot right now with the way the iModel leagues are and how it's represented and what we're doing at the grassroots ages. Our teams are doing well and they're competing. So we feel like we want to be the #1 regional club, and we're always assessing what we can do to again be better. But from a coach standpoint, we want to be the coaches to be transformational and lifelong learners. So transformational, looking at how they can affect the players in a number of different ways. It's not just what they teach in terms of the tactics or the technical information. It's how they can work with them off the field and how they deal with certain situations. And again, looking into how they can make them better people at the end of the day. And we want our coaches to be lifelong learners. As I'm sure you are in your work environments, you constantly want to learn and want to grow, and there's always new things coming out. It's important to recognize those things and look at what the trends are and how they can change and how kids learn and however they grow and differentiate. So it's important that we as coaches and we as a club continue to be lifelong learners. Never want to sit still. If there's things that we can take on board that are going to improve our program, we're going to do that. And we want to make sure we do that as well. So we want them to be confident and within that ourselves. So what are we looking for from 2025 into 2026? So really from a cultural standpoint, we want to build a positive, connected culture in every team. So links into everything, kind of what I've just talked about there. It's important that if the culture is good within their team, generally they're going to be successful. And then hopefully if the culture within the club is good, hopefully a lot of the teams are going to be successful. So it's something that we want to try and build. We want to model the behaviors. We want our players to learn. So this is important for us as a club to model the behaviors to you guys as parents. Hopefully we're doing a good job of that. And then obviously that links into the coaches as well, making sure the coaches are modeling behaviors that we want our kids to learn. We don't want our coaches to be joystick coaches. We don't want our coaches shouting on the sidelines and abusing referees or abusing other parents. It's making sure that if they start to do that, it's the players are going to model that and how that looks like on the field. So we don't want our coaches to do that. And then, as I just kind of mentioned there, we want to create pathways that inspire growth and ambition. So these are our kind of 3 pillars that we're really looking for to grow on this year. And then it kind of leads into what the coaching is for. So this is something I haven't come up with. There's a guy called Dan Abrahams that kind of came up with. So what is coaching for? So coaching, to start with, is making sure that regardless, kids participate. So we want to make sure we're engaging in activity now, today, tomorrow, and then beyond. If we don't what we do on the field, if we don't want the kids to actually participate, we're not going to be able to get to the next step, which is then the progression stage, which is the learning and growing. So if once they first can participate and they want to come every single time, you then get the chance to actually have them learn and grow. And what can we do to help the players learn and grow through questioning, drawing their attention to something, and then being able to have the opportunity to retrieve what they've already previously learned. And then from that progression, then becomes the performance piece, and this then becomes the time to compete, to build competencies to perform. We find ourselves a lot of the time, people want us to go straight to the performance, and people want to win. They talk about the outcome before any of this other stuff comes ahead of us. So it's really important that we make the environment fun for the kids, so they actually want to come back and they want to learn. They want to be a part of playing soccer and playing sport now, today, tomorrow, and then beyond. And then from that, we can then connect with them to be able to help them progress and learn and grow. And then once we got them in that progression stage, we can then look to try and have them perform and try and compete. And that's where hopefully then the results start to come from a result standpoint. So a couple of quotes just before we get into kind of some detail on what the actual program is about. So what we model for our children is far more powerful than what we say to them. I think you might, as parents, we understand that as well. I'm certainly showing that as from my kids. Children may not remember what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel. There was a task, I tell this story all the time, you may have heard me say it. When I did my children's license in 2019, we had a task was given to us to ask who our favorite coach was and why. And out of the 32 people that were on the course, 30 of us said it was a coach that made us feel good. It wasn't about what they actually taught us in terms of the X's and the O's and all the technical details, how to kick a ball properly. It was what they actually made you feel and how you remembered. So necessarily not going to remember what they said, but a coach is going to make you feel good about yourself. You're going to generally perform for them. I really like this, to be honest. It's not in the connection, not the correction, that we find the power to shape behavior. Again, it kind of links into that last quote that I mentioned. If we can connect with the kid first, rather than saying, can you do this differently? First time, you then have the power to shape the behavior. So if a coach can connect with your child, it's only going to be able to help them in the correction stage rather than before that. And then discipline is about teaching, not punishment. The goal is to guide and not control. Felt that was important as well. So just want to talk you very quickly through our NSC DNA. So this is our process of what we came up with. So it's a game model. We actually started this through COVID, through the pandemic. It was something that James and I, along with a guy called John Mondina, worked very hard through to what we can try to do to kind of grow the club. So it has 5 different pillars. Number 1 is who we are, so core values and beliefs, which we've kind of already gone around. We have a how we play, so in possession, out of possession, in transition. How we coach in game and training environments. So we're going to get into a little bit how that looks like very shortly. What the new market player is about, so developing the person and the player, and then the skills and attributes around that, and then how we support, so from a coach, player and parent education, and then from a technology standpoint. So these are the 5 pillars that we kind of try and work our program around, and feel it's important to show these. So very briefly, and again, there's a lot more detail that the coaches have around this, but I kind of wanted to just share this with you. So how we play, we want to be adaptable and in control. We want the kids to have the freedom to make decisions. We don't necessarily going to tell them, pass here, pass there, do this, do that. We want to make sure that they have the freedom to make decisions, and we want them to do it with a smile. From a how we coach standpoint, we use what's called represented learning design. So you'll see on the field, hopefully, anyway, and it's my job to make sure the coaches are following this, is that they use games to be able to bring out what the game is showing us. So you're going to see lots of small-sided games and lots of different games being played on the field, not just dribbling through a cone, passing back and forth. They're going to be lots of in games that should look like the game, because if you do something that looks like the game, it's then going to bring repetition and memory into what they're looking for, and they'll be able to then put that into a game situation. We want to create problems, not solutions via constraints. So again, that kind of links into the freedom to make decisions. So in training sessions, sometimes you might actually see a coach not necessarily say a lot, which is okay, because maybe they've set a problem for the player to see if they can come up with solutions themselves. Because a lot of the times, players are going to come up with different solutions that we didn't even come up with ourselves. And I'm sure you kind of get that sometimes at home with, you ask a kid a question, they come up with something that's like, whoa, didn't even think about that myself. So we try and do that via different games and different constraints that we work through. And I want to keep perception action coupled. So that means essentially making sure there's always a decision, or there's always defenders involved. So there's always things to look for. We don't want to just be like, for example, me and James are standing back and forth just passing, because I'm only seeing James is only seeing me, and I'm only seeing the ball. But in a game, that's never going to be just what's happening. So it's important that we keep those things coupled. And then this links into then the decisions. We want the kids to make decisions, and it's important that they make them on their own, and they fail and they grow and they learn from them as well. So it's important that we understand that. So I just wanted to show these again. This is something that the coaches get details on in terms of how they work through, but this is a kind of an overarching theme that we look for within our game format. So our 5v5, which is our under 8s and under 9s. So we have a recommended team shape. Again, this just suggested, the coaches don't have to use it. They can change it up if they want to, and that's part of the adaptability piece that we talked about. So overall, we want to make sure they have the understanding to how to create and how to use space by the end of these 2 years. So from that, they can then build into what they're doing. And then from a defending standpoint, we want to look at the positioning, so the relationship between the ball and the goal, and how they can protect the goal. Once we move into 7v7, 9v9, 11v11, it gets a little bit detailed, and each format builds on the other one. So as you'll notice that a lot of them are the same. They just build on one another, and as they get through the formats, they build on each other again. So one thing we are doing a little bit differently is we're going to have a little bit of a focus by age. So depending on which age you're in, you're going to see a slightly different focus in terms of what they're doing on the field. So those are our overarching themes, but you also then have a focus on the age group. So within the age groups of U8 to U11, ultimately we want to love the game, master the ball, and then explore positions. And the explore positions piece is really, really, really important. At this age group, and the coaches know this as well, and hopefully you as a parent will see this, and I know it's something that hasn't necessarily happened as much as I would have liked it to happen over the years, is making sure that players do explore every single position. They should be rotating through goalkeeper, should be playing defense, they should be playing midfield, they should be playing striker. Now make sure that you may understand that they're not necessarily going to do that in every game. They may play 1 or 2 positions in a game. However, over the course of the season, they will be rotating through every single position. That's okay. They're not just going to be stuck playing right centre back or left centre back or striker the whole time. The coaches should be exploring. It's very important that they understand how to play different positions and understand what it's like to be in that position. If you're playing striker, your son or daughter might be a very good striker. If they then go and play defense, they then know what the striker might be able to do and they can help them. And when they go back to playing striker, they're going to know, okay, the defender thinks I'm going to do this, but now maybe I can try doing something different. So it's important that they really explore those positions, and players should be and will be rotating positions throughout the course of the season. So if you're expecting your son or daughter just to play in midfield or just to play in striker, it's not going to be that way. And the coaches will be making sure that they explore those positions. It's very, very important for their growth. From U12 to U14, we want to grow the tactical understanding and develop resilience. So that in this age group now, it's important that they really start to understand the game a little bit deeper in terms of how the play moves and how different players moves and the rotations between different positions, and how they can help each other tactically, and then obviously develop the resilience a little bit more. So the winning and losing piece starts to grow a little bit bigger in these areas, and not to say it's not important in the U8 to U11, because we want to win the game, but it's not the be all and end all. It becomes more important in how we manage the resilience piece within that age group. And then once we move into U15 plus, it's really about how we compete and we can push the performance. So it's important that, again, we're doing well. So our 2010 boys red team won the C2 league on Thursday night, I think it was. So big congratulations to them, but they've done a great job, and they've really competed and really pushing the performance. And now they get to move into the C2 championships next weekend. So hopefully they do well. But from that, just talking about the compete level, they compete week in, week out, and have done a really good job to be able to obviously go and win the league, which is great for them. So I wanted to share these as well. So it's a club vocabulary. So these are some key phrases that you might hear our coaches say, and we're trying to make sure this is across the club. So if a player does move up or down an age group for whatever reason, if they're called up into a different team, if a coach says a certain word, they're going to understand what it means. So you might hear the word reset, you might hear the word play across, playing gaps, find a runner, shape, make the pitch big, and obviously we have some meanings for what this all means. I felt it was important that you share these. So if you hear coaches saying these things, you have an understanding what it means as well. So these are the in possession phrases, and then we also have some for our possession phrases as well. So what it means when we're defending. So our shape, we're looking to get compact. What it means to press, what it means to drop, what it means to shift or push up as well. So just what it felt important to share those with you. So our playing philosophy, and I apologize, I didn't make a change here. I thought I did. It should have said U8 to U13 now, and then U14 up, just based on the small little changes. They still play into each other a little bit, but I apologize for that. It's my mistake. But anyway, from a playing philosophy standpoint, in the younger age, in the grassroots, it's really important that they have the ability to pass and receive under pressure. Soccer is about passing and moving and passing and receiving and dribbling and shooting, but if we can't pass the ball to each other, receive the ball, it's going to be very hard to play. So it's important that what we do in games, and we talked about that earlier a little bit, about the fact that we're going to play lots of games, that they can pass and receive under pressure. And yes, there's going to be a time to do the technical piece, and where it is unopposed, but there's ways to do it unopposed that still has some traffic in there. But it's important that players can pass and receive under pressure. We've already talked about the rotation of player positions, equal playing time. It's important that the players at this age group get equal playing time. Again, this we talked about the winning and losing piece in the last slide there. Equal playing time is very important because it's not about winning a game at under 9. It's making sure that everybody has the ability to play and the ability to grow and learn. Now, a little caveat to this: if you don't show up to practice all the time and you just show up to a game, don't expect to get equal playing time. Or if you show up late, don't expect to start the game. So there's little standards around that, but overall there should be equal playing time for all the players, because again, we want kids to enjoy it and have an environment where they're going to grow and learn. So equal playing time is important. But in this age group, if your son or daughter is literally playing 2 minutes a game, it's a big problem, and I need to know about it. So please let me know. But everybody should be getting equal playing time generally across the season. And again, it's not going to be minute to minute. Coaches do have watches where maybe sometimes a coach will do 5-minute rotations or 8-minute rotations. It's not going to be to the minute all the time, but it should be as equal as possible. I want to make sure that we're promoting creativity, be able to compete in 1v1 situations with and without the ball, and a fun and positive learning environment where players are not afraid to make mistakes. And I think that's really important. The ability to be able to not make mistakes, to make mistakes is really, really important, because that's how we learn. And I think everybody knows that we learn from mistakes and how we can grow. And then ultimately, it's the same, the opposite side of developing an internal motivation for playing and training. Couple of differences just in the under 14 up, under 13, under 14 up. They need to understand the roles and responsibilities on the field. At this age group, you're going to find that they don't rotate through all the positions. Some players maybe have the ability to go and play all the positions, but generally they're going to be in 1 or 2 positions. Maybe they play defender, maybe they play a defender and a holder midfield player, maybe they play centre defence and right back, or for example, or they play as a striker, maybe can play on the wing. But you're not going to find them playing in all different positions all the time unless the coaches require them to need to be able to do that. A big change there is obviously the own playing time. Obviously, there is a results push into this, and as we move through the phases, it's important that players understand that what they do in training has an impact on how they play in the game. And if they're not putting the work in training, there's going to be limited on playing time. So it's important that they understand that, and they need to work hard to be able to earn that playing time. Also, you still want to promote the creativity and be able to compete in 1v1 situations, because if you can win your 1v1 battles on the field, generally you're going to have a better chance to win the game. Still want it to be a fun and positive learning environment where they're not afraid to make mistakes. And as I mentioned earlier there, develop an internal motivation for playing and training. We want them to have that motivation to be able to come to training all the time. It shouldn't be necessarily on the coaches to motivate them to come to training. They should want to come to training. It shouldn't be on you either as a parents to get them going. If they don't want to go to training, we got to think about what we're doing at the same time. So I'm now going to hand over to James, hopefully, who's going to look at this. And Petra, I apologize, I didn't change and add in a D. I've spelled landscape, not landscape. So my apologies. James, are you able to get on here? If not, I will talk through it, but here we go.
Unmute yourself, James.
Hello.
There we go.
Am I on screen?
What's this?
We can see you.
Okay. Am I able to click through the slides?
If you're not, I can do it.
Okay.
Are you able to?
Can
you do it?
No.
Okay, I'll do it.
Just put the whole thing on. So actually, this is an interesting slide because if you're already in soccer or you're new to soccer, there's a lot of choice and options out there. So talking about the levels of play, Paul already mentioned OPDL, as it's classed as the highest level of play for youth soccer, U13 to U18. Below that tier is the I model, which we play in. And then district, which is just within, say, York Region teams. iModel would be teams from York Region, teams from Toronto, teams from Peel, a wider area. And then the bottom level would be recreational. So that would be Newmarket versus Newmarket players in our house league. Just one thing to note about the iModel, what you see there at C1, C2, C3. So there is a merit-based sorting of the teams. So you qualify for either C1, C2, or C3 based on results. The OPDL is it's application only. So there's no merit-based way to win your way on the field into the OPDL. So that kind of raises some interesting points. Club versus academy. So there are lots of clubs. Newmarket Soccer Club is a not-for-profit entity, and then academies are private, privately owned, and are not considered not-for-profit. Generally, that means the prices are expensive, more expensive in academies. The only true academy in Ontario is Toronto FC Academy, because it's linked to a professional club. So the name academy is a moniker more than anything. Important to know that all clubs and academies are in the same sandbox. So we're bound by the same rules. We enter the same competitions, leagues, tournaments, and that type of thing. So just understand that around clubs and academies. So Paul, maybe you could just click one on. Can you go forward, Paul? There we go. So within all clubs and academies playing under Ontario Soccer, there are 4 levels of club criteria, and this is the application process. So OPDL clubs meet something around 140 criteria based on financial, administrative, governance, and technical. Level 2 provincial clubs around 90 different criteria. Newmarket Soccer Club is currently a level 2. Now, what that really means is it's the kind of amount of programming that the organizations can put on paper. So, for example, if you're a level 1 or a quality soccer provider, you're not required to have a goalkeeper coach or a goalkeeping program. But as soon as you jump to level 2, your club has to provide goalkeeping training for its goalkeepers. And just a little thing about Newmarket Soccer Club is that we actually meet many of the standards in level 1. For example, we have video capabilities for our teams, which is a level 1 requirement, but you know, we're at level 2 right now. So we do try and raise our standards and offer as much programming as possible to the highest level we can. So there's if you once this is emailed out, you'll be able to click that link there, and it will take, you can read away at your heart's content at all the different criteria that Newmarket Soccer Club has met, and also what OPDL clubs also do. So if you really wanted to know the difference. You click forward, Paul. This is one of my favorite things. Playing to win or playing to develop. And this really applies the difference between that 8 to 13 age group and 14 up. And you would see more winning at all costs when we get into that competitive environment. So for those parents who are in the 8 to 13, there's no scores and standings, so there's no reward to win. So that means we can start to think about playing to develop. One example is that you might, and Paul mentioned about player rotations. I might have a really strong defender, but I want to develop that player, and let's move them to a new position so they can like experience some enrichment of, you know, how they play and looking at different positions and looking back at their old position, as Paul said. That immediately weakens my team, because my strongest defender is no longer playing in its strongest position. So I can't play to develop and play to win at the same time. which is fortunately why we don't have to U8 to U12, or U13. So we can play to win and develop. So rotating positions weakens the team overall. It's not your strongest lineup anymore, but it enables players to grow sideways and up rather than just be stuck in one position. And one point there, embrace risk and inevitable mistakes. So we have teams that trying to build from the back and play through the thirds in an attractive style. Immediately, they assume that one mistake potentially is going to lead to a direct goal and not a relatively easy goal for the opposition to score, because the team is expansively spread out, looking to pass and move. It's hard to defend once possession's turned over. But over time, gradually, you've got over the mistakes, you've understood the mistakes, you've made them many times, so that now it becomes okay. Now we become more competent at what we're trying to do, and it's a long-term approach. By playing to win or kicking the ball away from our own goal as direct as possible, it's assuming the least amount of a risk, and it's looking at the short-term result of the game rather than the long-term improvement of all the players on the field and a more holistic approach. So, there's more points there about keeping your fastest players on up front. Well, they're not going to learn as much just by changing positions. I think you can go to the next one, Paul. Takes time to load on my computer. How we train. So there's another click, I think, Paul. We mentioned about making it game realistic. So that means decisions are being made because there is pressure on the ball and on the person with the ball, i.e. a defender. That means that there are lots of mistakes happening in practice when you play in a game-based learning environment. Versus, and again, this is the blocked versus random practice. The block practice might be line up, dribble through the cones, master that dribbling through the cones, and then shoot at the end of it, and just repeatedly do that. Well, it looks tidy, it looks organized, but I've never really seen anyone in a real soccer match dribble through cones with, what happens when the cones move. So it's a longer approach. It takes longer to learn within chaos, but over time, the results are much better, greater, and the players learn a lot more and become better overall players. There is an Ontario Soccer webinar that explains blocked versus random practices with some scientific, university research-based evidence to suggest, and it clearly suggests that random practices within a game way superior for learning versus block practice. It just takes longer. So maybe Paul will put the link in for that webinar as well when we send this email out.
Yeah, no problem. And just one thing to add there, James, obviously we talked about the representative information there. We see that with the diagram there, where there's always a ball, there's always direction, there's always opponents, there's always a consequence to what's happening. So whenever with the training, we want to make sure there's a ball in there. Whenever they're playing a game, there should be direction to it, whether it's north, south, east, or west, wherever it is. Should be against somebody, whether that's a 4v1, a 3v3, a 4v4, whatever it is. And there's always a consequence. So the consequence being, if I lose the ball, there's a chance that something's going to happen in terms of a goal being scored or whatever that is. So it's important that we have, and you understand that those are the reasons a little bit why as well in terms of what we're doing. So there's always a ball, there's always an opponent, there's always a direction, there's always a consequence to the exercise that we're trying to put on. And
ideally, the players are always moving as much as possible. They should be moving for at least 80% of the session. Is there anything else, Paul? Have we got another one?
One more. I'm not sure why it's not going in. Here we go.
Yeah, this this can be applied to anything in life. So it's certainly applicable to soccer. My own daughter's been like this. She didn't have a strong U9, but she had a pretty strong U10. Who knows what U11 is going to be like? And this is because everybody's growing at different periods, different speeds, different times, and it's all thrown into a completely chaotic selection process, because everybody in the entire ecosystem is also growing at different speeds, slowing down, speeding up. Overall, though, if you look at longer patterns versus shorter patterns, you should see your child improving, and that is the main thing. Don't look at the short term, and that can be 6 months. Look at the long term, a year, 2 or 3, and see what the patterns are. And that's, hopefully a product of our environment.
Perfect. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Okay, so I wanted to share and move into kind of grassroots rostering and what this looks like, and what does this actually mean in terms of what an open roster is. So as I mentioned earlier, there's you're not necessarily just on the certain age group team, but within that, for example, let's take the boys 2014 just as an example. Within that team, within that age group, there are 2 teams within that age group, but they're all on one team in terms of they're all on the Newmarket boys 2014 team. They're not set on specific rosters, so we then break them down on game days. We have what's called a red team and a white team. If where there is 2 teams in an age group, so the players are never set, and coaches can and will move players from team to team, and they move for a variety of reasons. Now, when the players are being moved, coaches should be and ideally are giving you some notes, some explanation in terms of, okay, I'm going to move your child to this team because, or if they've typically been playing on white, because it's making sure it's about appropriate competition, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But one thing I hear all the time is that, especially if a player's been playing on the red team and they move down to the white team, they always see it as a punishment or a demotion if they move down a team. It should never be looked at that. It should always be making sure we're looking at the development of the player. And maybe at that point in time, the coach needs or wants to see something different from that particular player. So maybe they want to give them a little bit more of a leadership role. So if they've been playing on the red team, maybe they want them to go down to the white team and show more of a leadership role in terms of what they're doing. It may be on the white team where they're moving up because they want to give them more of a challenge. They're feeling they're doing really well and they want to challenge somebody to try and do something different. And we're going to start to implement what's called the 50-25-25 rule. And I'll explain what that kind of goes through. And again, these numbers are not exact. It's just a kind of a broad overview. But in terms of our grassroots programs, 50% of the team, and again, approximately 50% of the team should be playing where they should be playing, and they should be appropriate to them in terms of the competition. 25% of the team, it should be too hard for them. And it's okay that it's too hard. So they may struggle in that environment, but that's okay, because then they're going to then learn what they need to do differently to be able to improve. And then 25% of the team, it should be too easy for them. So again, it might be go down there. It's going to be too easy. They can dribble past everybody. They can pass easily, and it's just the game is just slower for them. But that's okay. But again, they're realizing and trying different things out within that environment. So the 50-25-25 rule is something that we're looking to implement. And this isn't just plucked out. I've just decided, we're going to do this rule. It was something that I'm a Tottenham fan myself, but I was listening to a podcast on a Cuerva podcast, and they had a guy called Chris Ramsey on, who was involved in the Tottenham Academy at the time, and they went over to Denmark and to do some research and kind of what they do in their grassroots. And the club they were at in Copenhagen they do this 50-25-25 rule, and I thought it was really interesting and really good, and something that would be very beneficial for us to be able to work through this ability to be able for coaches to be able to move players up and down as they feel needed. And again, it's not a punishment or a demotion. It's a making sure that the players have different challenges in terms of what they need at the time. And as James just showed in that graphic there, it's about progress and not perfection. James, I see your hand up. You want to add something, mate?
Yeah. My daughter, she played on the red team, which is kind of the higher level. But as the coach set an example to all the other parents, I was like, I moved her down to the white team down to play in the tier 2 early in the season, and she was annoyed with me all week. But when she went to play the game, she was like very, very a strong player and was really starting to express herself and dribble more and try things. And she knew she was one of the best players on the field, and then went to bed feeling like 10 feet tall. Her self-esteem was amazing that night. And so there's other reasons why a strong player would move to the tier 2 other than just technical. I mean, it was just about how she felt that night that was so important for that. So I just wanted to share it.
Yeah, thanks, mate. And it kind of then leads into the appropriate competition. And what does that mean? So it's what we try and do is making sure that we are putting the players in a position where it's appropriate for them at the time. And again, it may be that it's too hard for them. It may be that it's too easy for them, but it's important that they get that. And then from a club standpoint for the teams, we make sure we try and place the teams where we feel is appropriate for them, whether that is tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, depending on the age group. But that's something that we collaborate with the coaches on to make sure that we're trying to put them in the best environment possible for them to do well and exceed, because we don't want to go and put them ahead in a tier 1 team in a tier 1 tier where they then go and get smashed every week, and it's not going to do any good for anybody. But so it's really important that we try and make sure that the competition is appropriate for them. Just wanted to kind of show this graphic in terms of how all this links in, because it's what's called long-term player development, and I'm sure some of you have seen this graphic before. But we have the 7 different stages to it, and generally we're in the fundamentals. So active starters, obviously for 0 to 6-year-olds, we're in the fundamentals up until the training to win stage, really. And obviously from an active for life, hopefully that gets in there. But the kids are moving through these different stages as they go. So notice that you'll see if your child has moved in from a 10 to 11 or a 9 to 10. The difference in terms of how they train is you're going to notice. So they start to actually begin to learn how to train and become. We notice it quite a lot from at this age group, and how the differences and how they start, their focus can actually start to switch a little bit, and they know, okay, I need to actually learn how to train properly, or they've been so much in the fun piece, and then we're now trying to teach them, okay, this is now how you learn to train in terms of what you're doing. And then moving into the training to train, so you're actually working on what you're doing. Now you know how to train, and it's now training how you train, and then obviously into the training compete stage as you get a little bit older. But it's important just to notice those. You might notice that with your own child, the difference in how they cognitively develop in the certain stages. It's important to show you these changes in case you're not aware of it. There's some key adjustments for it. So within the matrix, so this has come down from Canada Soccer, and then Ontario Soccer has to implement it as well. So moving into this season, it came out a while ago. So actually in 2019, they actually brought out this matrix, and it never really was officially moved in. But we actually moved our house league program into these formats. But on the competitive side, it never came into revision till this season. So under 8s and under 9s are 5v5. It used to be only under 8s 5v5. So what it used to be was under 8s for 5v5, 9s and 10s were 7v7, 11s and 12s was 9v9, and 13 up was 11v11. So Canada Soccer have now shifted everything by 1 year. So under 8s and under 9s are now 5v5. U10s and U11s are 7v7. U12 and 13 is 9v9, and then 14 up is 11v11. And the reasons for this is to allow the players to hopefully get more touches and play on appropriate size fields as well at the same time. If you had your son or daughter in under 13 last year, you'll notice that the field was probably massive, and it generally is. And especially if you're a goalkeeper in those goals, it is absolutely enormous, those goals. And some of the goals you'll see in were like, if they've been playing 9v9, there's not a chance it goes in. So it was a little bit false in terms of how it looked. Obviously, our teams did pretty well at the under 13 age group, which we were pleased about. But I think it's important that now with these focuses, it's going to hopefully, and again, this is for the long-term development of the player, and hopefully for the country as well as a whole, we're going to see a big difference in how this looks when we're now moving to 11v11 at 14. some key adjustments for you, especially if you're in the 12 and 13 age group. So there are no light balls anymore. So in the last number of years, I can't even tell you how many years it is, to be honest, we've used up until using a regular size 5. We've always had to use a size 4 light or a size 5 light. That has now been taken away. So from U8s to U12s, they use a size 4 ball, which everyone should know now, because they have your child should have your ball already if they've been to practice. Or maybe the coach has them, but they've been using the appropriate size ball. And the size 5 still remains at under 13. One big difference now is that under 12 and under 13 in the 9v9, there is no retreat line anymore. So if you've been moving through that age group, essentially what a retreat line is whenever the goalkeeper gets the ball, the defending team has to back up to a certain point on the field. Depending on the age group, it's slightly different. So at 5v5, it's a halfway line. At 7v7, it's a third. And at 9v9, it used to be a third. But now they've taken that away. So I think that's also healthy and good for the game. So they understand to play under a little bit more pressure now. But just so you understand what that is as well. And then obviously under 14 move into 11v11. And then there's also no travel requirements for memorable events anymore. So this is something, again, that your coaches and managers are aware of. So when you're planning some tournaments or festivals, depending on the age groups, there is no travel requirement anymore, because we had a couple of teams looking to even just go to Quebec. Depending on the age group, we weren't allowed to, but now that is something that is allowed to go to if people want to. We still have to get approval. The number of memorable events vary by age, but there is no actual travel requirements anymore for memorable events. So just wanted to kind of share those very brief overview, but again, I can send out the actual link to what the matrix is, so everybody gets an understanding of all the rules and regulations that we have to follow in terms of rules for the game. But I wanted to share those key points with you. Last thing I want to leave you with in terms of our philosophy and what it is before we get into the actual program itself and what it looks like is it's really important that we let them play. The game is so important and it's so fun when you just go and play. It's important that we do that as coaches, that we don't overcoach them. It's important for you as parents to make sure you're not barking orders from the sideline and you're not doing this from the side and telling your kid to go and do that. Let them go and play, let them enjoy it, because if they go and enjoy it, ultimately they're going to want to come back all the time. And also they're probably going to be happier kids at the end of the day if you let them go and play and do that and not put as much pressure on them as we might think. So just to get into the program itself and what it looks like. So we're into this now. So it's a 22-week program. In the under 8s and under 9s, it's 2 nights a week, and under 10s upwards is 3 nights a week for practices. And in games, there's the indoor league. Off the field, there's fitness, which is the exercise lab. So this starts at under 14 up and will start at the end of January. Information will come out about that. And it will start under January, early February. The exercise lab were actually meant to be on the call tonight. Unfortunately, they were having some connectivity issues. They moved house and their Wi-Fi wasn't working, so we're unable to get onto the call. And one big thing here as well for you guys, and it's important for this, and it's something that I really put forth on the coaches to do, is that they have to give you one written assessment before the start of outdoor. Hopefully they're doing more than that, but there's actually one formal written assessment they have to have, and I actually have to see them. There's a form a standard form that every coach has to use within the club, but everybody should be getting this. And if you don't get this, please let me know. Again, it's something that I do harp on the coaches they have to do, because the feedback is very, very important, and it's a laborious task for the coaches because it does take a long time, especially depending on the number of players, and it's not easy to complete. But the difference that you get, one, for you as a parent to get the information on what your child is doing well and not doing so well, but also for the player themselves to see this is what's going on, this is what's not going on. It's important that the coaches are honest with them in this feedback as well, so they can understand where that's at. But the difference of getting good feedback is important, and obviously it's important for us to make sure that you're getting that feedback, because even if you're in school, if you went to school and you weren't getting any information back from your teachers about how your child is doing, I think you'd be a little bit upset probably. So it's important to make sure that you know how your child is doing. So there is at least one written assessment before the start of outdoor, and then there's the same once we go into outdoor, which I will show you now. So outdoors approximately 26 weeks, depends on the season. Again, this information will kind of be coming out closer to the time, but it's approximately that based on the seasons. Practices are the same in terms of the numbers. And then the game stuff there. The festival or tournaments, again, the teams can do them indoors, and that's something that can happen during the indoors. They are 1 to 4 events, and where the teams go is up to them. I have to approve everything in terms of those events. I don't want teams deciding they're trying to go to 8 or 9 events and all over the place when they're trying to play league games as well. But that is something that's separate to your fee in terms of that. So you'll do fundraising, parent contributions, whatever it is, or sponsorship money can help kind of pay for those things. But it is a separate expense to go to festivals or tournaments, unless you're in the U8s where it's included in the cost, because they do a bi-weekly festival. And then we have off the field. We have the exercise lab again, which is sort of the fitness stuff. We have some team camps that we're going to be looking to work towards, and again the assessment piece there. Banquet will be the end of September, or roughly, sorry, in September at some point. We haven't got a date sorted for that yet, but the banquet will be in September, and then the same with Picture Day. So in terms of some additional programming, we have these programs that are available. I'm going to talk about the goalkeeper stuff now. So goalkeepers practice started on Fridays. So if your son or daughter is interested in playing in goal, it would be encouraged for them to join the goalkeeper program. Please note that this is for people that are interested in being a goalkeeper only and must be actually wanting to play in goal. If they're not wanting to play in goal, please don't just have them come out to the session for the sake of it. It's important from a progression standpoint for the goalkeeper coaches that they're able to work through it, and there's consistency around who the goalkeepers are, so they're learning stuff. It's hard for a kid to just randomly jump in like 6 weeks in to come to 2 sessions and then not come again because they decide they don't want to be a goalkeeper anymore. So it's important that they are doing that. And it's Fridays at the club from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7. We have small group training through Adapt. So I'm actually, so Patrick is here on the call. We're going to have him jump on and talk about his program a little bit more, but I'll just quickly share that it's Friday. So it's 4 to 5 at the club as an option, which is for all the age groups. And then we have a 6 to 7 p.m., which is U8s to U12s, and a 7 to 8 p.m., which is under 13 plus, and it's at Denison Gym. I know there were some questions sent to Puya, and there was some information around thinking it was going to be on the Denison turf. It's not. It's in the high school gym is what it's going to be. But Patrick, I'm going to ask you, mate, if you want to jump on and just talk around your program there a little bit more. And so Patrick is, I've got to know as of last year, and Patrick was part of the club with the girls 2013 team, and unfortunately had to just step away based on some family stuff. But Patrick has his own company called Adapt, and great guy, knows his stuff. And Patrick, I'll let you kind of speak to your program a little bit more, mate.
For sure, appreciate the kind words, Paul. Hi everybody, my name is Patrick. I'm the owner of Adapt Soccer Performance. As Paul stated, I was a part of the club last year with the 2013 girls. Just had to step away with family commitments, but I am back and we are going to roll out this small group training on Fridays. As Paul stated, Fridays 4 to 5 will be at the club on the turf, and then 6 to 7 and 7 to 8 will be at the Denison Gym, U8 to U12 in the first slot, U13 plus in the second slot. So our goal at Adapt, we've been operational for about 7 years now. What we focus on is really getting detailed with the player and trying to make them a technically sound individual. So mentally, confidence-wise, skill-wise, we are not team coaches. I always like to stress this. We're not team coaches at Adapt, we are trainers. So we act as kind of mentors to the kids. If there's something that, the kid is not understanding, or a skill that is very hard to understand, or the kid is not getting it, we will step in and give them that detail that they're looking for. A lot of kids won't voice it, so it's on us to kind of be really good as trainers to create a relationship with them and get into their heads and really bring out the confidence in that regard. We're trying to create good foundational skills based on the age group. And then obviously, if you're in the 13 plus, we're looking at more of a situation where, we're demanding a little bit more from the player, really trying to get them sharp and agile in terms of physical literacy and understanding all of their technical skill. Agility and speed is all involved in the program. But overall, it's about really turning the players from, let's say, a mediocre player into, 10% better, 20% better as they go along. Development is always a long-term process, but in terms of what we do, we just kind of really try to get in the nitty-gritty of detail and really help the players on that front. Paul, if you had anything to add, by all means.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. And just as a note, the registration is available on PowerUp, so you can register for it. But the level of detail that Patrick goes into is fantastic, and it's something obviously that we encourage if people are able to do it to join up and sign up. We got asked about this a number of times over the number of years, last couple of years, about building in some small group training or some individual training as well. So it's great that we're able to now partner with Adapt and with Patrick and great bunch of like coaches and trainers. Patrick's just a great guy. It's been great to work with him already within the club, and we want to continue to grow this partnership with Adapt. So if there's something that is interesting to you, please go ahead and register, and I think you'll definitely see the benefit out of the program. And I know the girls and parents on the Girls 2013 program, I know they loved you, and I know a number of them now like go to you separately as well, because of how good a program that you deliver. So it's great on you, and hopefully the rest of the club can continue to do that, because I know it was something that we tried to kind of roll out in the summer, but timing was a little bit late on our part, so it didn't really work out as we would have hoped. But now hopefully getting it out early enough, we can get the numbers and get the bodies to make sure it really see the benefit of it. I think ultimately it's going to help our players get better, which ultimately we want to be able to achieve and get to the next level if they can. So appreciate it, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so then also we have so camps available as well. So we do PA day camps, we do March break camps, and we have summer camps. We are, as I mentioned in the last time, we are looking at building out some teams like summer camps. We did it briefly last year. We're looking to how we can expand on that. One thing we also did last summer, which we got some very good feedback on, was the Genoa camp that we ran. Kids really enjoyed that, and it's something that we want to try and bring back again next year. So there'll be more information coming on that, and the exercise lab as well. So as I mentioned, unfortunately, Leah and the team couldn't able to make it on there, but it is something that the teams can organise separately as well. So it's built into for part of the program. But if teams want to do it and want to organise some stuff separately on the side, where they go into the gym and they have a massive little like kind of a warehouse gym space, where they have that. They also have options for you as parents, coaches, to be able to go and do programs as well at the same time, and we'll have that information available and sent out like for when Leah sends it to us, so we'll be able to send it out. She was hoping to give some more information, but again, they had some problems to be able to send that, so apologies on that. So just wanted to go through some expectations here of what's expected from like players, parents, and coaches. So from a player standpoint, I think it's important for them ultimately to have fun. Really want to have fun at the same time. When they come to play soccer, they want to come to us. We want them to make sure they have fun. We want them to be on time. Ultimately, depending on the age group, obviously sometimes it's out of their control, whether that's on you. If you're coming from work, we understand there's sometimes going to be late. We're just in class to make sure that there's some communication around that. We want them to make sure they listen, engage, and focus. It's important to have that. Important to ask questions. Wearing the correct kit. This is something that is important as well. We're going to get into some kit stuff in a second here, but we don't really want to see, and we don't expect to see, game kits worn at practice. Everyone should have, from like, if you're a returning player from last year, you should have the training kit. So you should be wearing the training kit right now in practice. So the game kit shouldn't be worn during practice. Making sure they're a good teammate, making sure they're shooting the game. Hopefully they're wanting to go and be a better player outside of it. Watching soccer is really important. The amount of kids I asked said that don't watch soccer is beyond me. It's crazy. It's beyond me. If they want to get better and actually want to go to the next level, it's important that they watch it, and it's also important that they go and play by themselves, or not necessarily by themselves, but they just go and play outside of what we're doing. We also get some feedback from some parents around like the program hasn't done enough for my child, and the first question I always ask was how much do they work on the game outside by themselves, and the number of people that say they don't is quite alarming, because we can't expect, yes, we're going to improve them, the goal is to, but if they're only training with us at the time when they're doing it, they're not going to improve at the rate you think they're going to improve at. So it's important that they go and practice on their own. This is a competitive environment, so they want to make sure that they're working on their game outside of it. Want to challenge themselves to be better, be courageous on the ball, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. I've already mentioned that a little bit earlier on. For you as parents, we want to make sure that you're promoting a good learning environment. It's really important. If you can promote that environment at home, they're only going to achieve more, and obviously that links into being a student of the game as well. The cooperation with the coach in the 24-hour rule, things are going to happen. Sometimes you're not going to be necessarily happy with everything that goes on. It's important that we have adult conversations when emotions are not running high. So please, that we ask you respect the 24-hour rule. Sometimes that allows you to process your thoughts properly, and have a proper adult conversation, rather than having a heated discussion where some things might be said unnecessarily. And unfortunately, obviously, we understand that these things do happen at times, but it's important that we recognize that there is the 24-hour. We have that in place for a reason. So please make sure we try and use that. Team Snap, this is a big one. And I'm going to re-emphasize, we mentioned this to the coach as well. To plan sessions appropriately and to plan games appropriately, it's really important that the coaches know who's going to be there and who's not going to be there. So if, especially at games and practices, especially on game time, if you don't update your Team Snap and your availability, please know that you will not be put on a game sheet. It's really, really important you understand this. It's difficult for parents for coaches again to understand, to plan properly. So if it's not done, it's really, really important that you understand that they won't be played on, they won't be put on, and they won't be able to play. And most people, and again, generally, people are pretty good at it. But it's important that we understand that was done. Petra, I saw that you put your hand up. Did you want to speak to this?
I do. I just want to reiterate again what Paul just said. Please understand, as much respect as you guys as parents expect from us as an organization and from the coaches. It's a very simple ask that we have of you, and that is to update your availability. And like Paul said earlier, when it comes to larger group teams that have different colors for game day, it's not a red team, it's not a white team, it is a red game and a white game that is part of the large team. You should be available to play both the red game and the white game, because it is the coach's discretion which game your child will be playing in, be it red or white, tier 1 or tier 2 or tier 3 or tier 4. So updating your availability is crucial, and please understand that should you choose not to update your availability for whatever reason, your child will not be put on the game sheet. And again, we don't want to do that to the child, so we are asking for your cooperation as parents to ensure that you are effectively communicating and respecting our program, our expectations, the basic standards, and more importantly, the coaches that are caring for your children when they're out on that field. The coaches have been told very clearly, availability is not updated for the group team, for the group event, for any event. Your child does not make that roster. And if there are concerns about that, feel free to reach out. But our technical staff, both Puya, James, and Paul, will be double checking to ensure that coaches are not adding the players to the game sheets and to the rosters.
Thank you, Petra. One thing I really want to manage here is the focus on the performance rather than the outcome. Really, really important that we look at that. Sometimes you're going to lose a game. It's going to happen. Unfortunately, we can't win everything. So it's important that you look at how the team performed and how your son or daughter performed rather than the outcome. No coaching from the sidelines. I know it's hard to do at times, but it's important that the coaches are giving the kids information, and you may be contradicting that information, not on purpose at all. But you just don't know necessarily what the coaches have asked them to do. And so we really ask them, don't coach from the sideline, but be a cheerleader. Cheer the teams on. It's important that they have your support behind them and they know that you're there to support them. The amount of times we see a kid will make a pass, they'll shoot, the first thing they do is they look towards the parents. It's like that's not the environment that we want to create. I'm sure that's not what you want them to create. That you want them to be involved in the game and not be worried about what they're doing to make you happy on the sidelines. So it's important that you're a cheerleader for them, and we don't coach from the sidelines. And there is sanction for bad behavior. Unfortunately, we had a large amount last year, unfortunately, just based on some certain situations. We had more than normal, and it's not something that I'd love to deal with. But unfortunately, we have to deal with it at certain times. So that's what that is. So from a coach standpoint, just so you're again, so you understand, so we want to make sure they promote a good learning environment as much as you are. Preparation is key. You'll know if a coach shows up prepared or not. But the coaches are told they have to come prepared. They should be knowing what's happening in terms of what practice they're running. The head coach should know what's happening. The assistant coaches should know what's happening. Everyone should be prepared. They should be communicating with you. It's really important that we have that. If there isn't that communication happening with you, there's breakdowns, and that's where issues happen. And then they get festered, and then bigger problems come, and then fires have to get put out. So it's important that we've been harping this to the coaches as well, that the communication with you, we're constantly working on our communication, and we know it can be better, and we're working to improve that. But it's important that the coaches are communicating with you to make sure you're provided the information you need in a timely manner. And that then links into the roster information as well. So we're asking the coaches to make sure that their team rosters are out 48 hours before a game time minimum. So it's important that you're then modeled on that as well, making sure that the team staff is updated so they know who's available and they can get the information out to you so you know where you're going for a given game time. Coaches should be modeling good practice. They're not joystick coaches. They're not telling you where to go. They're not shouting at the referees. If that's happening, I need to know about it so we can then fix it. Because if that is happening, it's not what we want, and that it needs to be addressed. Again, same thing. We want to make sure they're focused on the performance rather than the outcome. As we talked about with James earlier, it's not a win at all cost mentality. We want to make sure that we're playing to win and playing to develop at the same time. So it's important that we focus on that performance. And then just so you know as well, they have to provide me with monthly progress reports on how the team is doing. Unfortunately, I can't be everywhere and see the teams all the time and see who's doing what. It's important that they do that, so they give me an update on kind of how the team performed, who's done well, who's not doing so well, and what they kind of are working on for the month, so I know what's happening within their team at all times. Just wanted to share this as well, and again, this is something I share every year now. It's something that Canada Soccer kind of put together for great questions for sporting parents. So there's different types of questions you can ask. They're general, specific, guide, or reflective. I won't go through these right now, but it's just something that you'll be able to have on hand. But it's important. There's lots of talk around the car ride home after training, after games, and all this stuff. But it's making sure that we have some good questions that we can ask your kids after games or practices. Just wanted to share this one slide around the chain of command. It kind of links into our expectations. There's always going to be issues or problems. It's always going to come up. There's things that happen all the time. It's important to understand that your first point is to go and speak to your coach or your manager about the issue to see if it can be resolved there and then. If it can't be resolved there and then, that's where you then contact Puya for Puya to either try and deal with it himself, or if he can't, then maybe he passes on to who it is. Then it comes into myself or Kev. And then if we can't then resolve it, it then goes to the board. It's important to know, and I know Petra is very good at responding to things, and she will always answer the phone calls. But your issue or problem should not go directly to president. Should not go straight to Petra. And again, she will answer the phone call. She will do what she can to help you because that's her job, and she wants to make sure she cares a lot, and she does what she can. But it's really important that we follow this chain of command and we don't go directly into Petra for issues or problems. Because there's certain things, unfortunately, that Petra just maybe doesn't know about straight away, and it could have been answered directly without it going all the way into there to be having a chain of command there. So it's important that we have those. If there are any issues or problems, making sure we're speaking to your coach or manager first, and then bringing it forward as we go up. But again, ideally, doesn't go straight into the board unless it's a major issue that we're having. But again, it should come into myself or Kev first before us then to go into the board to have it resolved. Wanted to just share that information there with you. So club fees and uniforms. So the club fees are now due. It's important that we get those done already. If you haven't paid your fees, they need to be paid. It's making sure that we should have been paid before the first training session on Tuesday. So make sure that's sorted. Puya will be following up with those that haven't, so make sure it is done. We need it for rostering as well. From a uniform standpoint, we are in our final year of agreement with Evangelista, so the club will be going out to an RFP process for a potential new uniform supplier. Nothing set yet, but but there will be a uniform committee formed, so information will be going out to different people around, and to the membership around people that potentially want to be part of the uniform committee. But it's important to know that we are in our final year of the agreement there. So there's different player packages. So everybody needs to order something. So you're either a brand new player that needs to order the package, or a returning player package. And then the order deadline there is October 24th. We do know there's been some challenges this year again, unfortunately, with Evangelista in terms of the store and then the samples. I know an email went out yesterday from Puya regarding the samples, so they should be arriving tomorrow. So then we're going to be able to have fitting processes in on Tuesday to Thursday. So then the deadline can be Tuesday to Friday. So if people want it, so then at least the orders can be in. And then again, we've been told a certain date for deliveries, which is the week of October 7th, which hopefully they can follow through, is the delivery that we've had. I know there's been some challenges with the store, with stuff being out of stock already, and there's something that we've constantly been trying to update and get information back to from Evangelista. The minute we get it, we make sure we tell them to make sure these things are updated. But I know there has been some challenges, but again, these things need to be ordered, so that we can make sure all the players look as professional as they can on the field. We're just wrapping up here very quickly to get some key dates here. So November 15th is a Santa Claus parade. So hopefully everybody the club has sent out information around this already. So just have that in your diary. We will be sending out some more information. We're looking for some teams, young and old, to be involved in this. We won the float a couple of years ago. We'd love to win it again if we can. So it's something that we will be getting involved with again. We have a Holiday Heroes event, which is on November 22nd. This is always the kickoff event for a food and toy drive for the York Regional Police Services. They do it every single year, and it's something that Petra helped actually start and begin, and has been involved with for a number of years now. Her older son Alex's team, the 2005 boys, are involved in it when it first began. So something very near and dear to Petra there. But again, more information will be going out on that, and we encourage everyone to be involved in that. We will be having every year with this, we have an event where generally the coaches play the York Regional Police. We're actually looking to try and build this out a little bit, where we're having potentially EMS involved or the Army or somebody else involved, to try and get a little bit of a mini tournament going on. So it's more of a full day event. But information there on that. Petra, do you want to add anything there?
It's RCMP, EMS, NSC, and YRP. So the little tournament is set. It'll be 11 to 3 on the 22nd, but definitely more information coming. There'll be a little bit of a competitive challenge happening amongst the teams to see which team can bring in the most donations. It's a great community event, and like Paul said, very near and dear to me personally, and to something that we started doing years ago and look forward to doing every year. So definitely stay tuned, more information coming, and hopefully this year Adapt will be joining us at our Santa Claus parade as we're walking through and build into the float. If Patrick's available, totally just threw him off because I just called him out in front of everybody with that one, but that's okay.
He'll be there, don't worry. No problem.
Perfect.
All right. November 26th to the club AMM. So information again will go about that. I believe there are some board positions up for renewal. So there's the information will be sent up on that. And then a big event is happening in the summer in this country. So that again, we're looking to try and build out as much information as possible. We don't really have anything right now in terms of, obviously the snow schedules have been coming out, but we will be looking to kind of partner with the town to get some viewing parties going, and there'll be some stuff happening around some activations around the World Cup come in, and it's exciting. Hopefully I can try and get some tickets. I'd love to be able to go and try and see a game. I'm sure everybody else is trying to get them too, so we'll see. But there will be some stuff happening we're speaking with the town to try and potentially get the viewing parties like they did with the Stanley Cup with Conor McDavid when they kind of went to the square there at Main Street. So we're hoping that we can get some stuff going on that, but keep your eyes peeled on information on the World Cup. Resources here. So again, these are some links I'll be sending out to you in terms of our website, Ontario Soccer website, Canada Soccer website. This Cost of Winning documentary, I would highly recommend you view if you have the time. It's about 45 minutes to watch, but it is quite moving, to be honest, and quite powerful in terms of the Cost of Winning documentary for kids. It's put together by a group that did a lot of research on on kids participation and winning in sport, and it's very interesting to work with, to listen and watch. And then 2 good websites here called Working with Parents in Sport is actually a group out of the UK. Do have some good resources for working with parents. And Changing the Game projects is a group out of the US, and they do some very good things as well. So just want to finish with got 2 slides to finish. So a little bit of call to action. So this season we will lead by example. So this is for us as a club, this is for you as parents, this is for the coaches. We want to lead by example to the kids and make sure we're doing everything we can to build the environment the players love to be part of. I think that's really, really important. If they love being part of an environment, they're going to want to come back, they want to keep learning and to keep growing. And then built on that, they're going to support one another, and then hopefully we support the club's mission within that. So us as a club, we want to support you as parents. We want to support the coaches. We want the coaches to support each other. We want the coaches to support you as parents. We want the FIBA. We want to be able to help each other and grow. And just leave you with this, to remember how we make people feel outlast everything else. And then I want to show you this quote again that we talked about right at the beginning. It's in the connection, not the correction, that we find the power to shape behavior. Really think that's important. It's really kind of key. If we can connect with somebody, you're then going to have a good relationship with them to be able to help them grow and help them learn, and they're going to respect you more. They're going to listen to you more if you have that connection with them. And hopefully then for us as coaches, and us as the club, we can then shape that behavior of the kid and the player to make sure they're not just good players, but they're also good people when they go into the community. So I want to thank you for the time. I know we've kind of gone over time a little bit here. I was hoping to keep it to an hour. We've ended up going a little bit over time, but if anybody does have any questions right now, feel free to stick them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them. Or if you have anything come after the fact, please send me an email, send Pooh an email, and we'll do our best to answer any. But Petra, is there any questions in the chat that we can try and answer now?
The questions that have come in, I've answered. Obviously, questions about the uniform. Just to answer that for everybody, order by the 24th. They're being shipped directly to your house. They're not coming into the club this year. We found that last year there was a little bit of a disconnect where people were saying that, they didn't receive it. We had evidence that it had been picked up from us. So we just decided to eliminate ourselves as that middleman and have people ship direct to the house. Hopefully that'll help streamline the process a little bit. We are definitely working on planning something with the town. Conversations have started and ideas are definitely flowing. And those of you that know me know that we go big or we go home. So we will do everything we can to make it an incredible World Cup 26 this year in the town of Newmarket. But that seems to be it for questions. But if there's anything else, please reach out. You can email Paul or Kev. All of the email addresses are listed on the website. Like Paul said, I'm always available. I do my best to answer, and but try and as much as possible to follow the chain of command, please.
Perfect. Thank you all again. This presentation will be going out, so it was recorded. I will send out a follow-up email tomorrow to everyone. Again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully the Blue Jays are winning already. If they're not, hopefully they come back and they win. For those that care about baseball anyway. But again, thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you on the field.